Hi, I'm Tina.
And I'm Rich.
If there's one thing we've learned in over 20 years of marriage,
It's that some days you'll feel like killing your wife.
and some days you'll feel like killing your husband.
Welcome to Love, Marry, Kill.
Hey, Rich, your arms must be tired.
My arms are so tired.
You literally just flew in from New York City.
I did. I got home a half hour ago, and it was a little bit of a bumpy trip. Not
Yeah.
just turbulence wise. My flight got canceled last night, and I spent an extra night in New York City that I didn't plan to. So it was a little
Yeah.
bit.
But you're here now and you're ready to podcast.
I sure am, and I'm excited to hear about this case. My mate Dave has been asking us to do this case for like over a year now, I think. So,
A year?
yeah. Notice I said my mate because
I did notice.
that's an Australian
Yeah,
thing.
we are going back to Australia. I feel like if you are an Australian, though, you know everything about this case.
Oh, yeah.
And you might not really learn anything new from our episode. I don't think the case has caught on as much in the United States. So
Right.
this is an Australian case that I'm telling more to our United States listeners. But before we get started, I have a joke for you.
Okay.
Why did the mushroom get invited to all the parties?
Why?
Because he was a fun guy to be with.
That's a good one.
Another thing I wanted to mention before we get into the case is thank you to the 10,462 people who messaged us that Michelle and Jason Young's dog, Mr. Garrison, is named for the teacher in South Park.
I know.
That really made us laugh because normally when we're podcasting, we have learned that we should Google something rather than
if we
say,
don't know
gosh, I
about
don't
it,
know.
right.
But I felt like it's a dog's name. Like, how are we going to know what this is about?
Yeah. But apparently everyone in the world watches South
Not
Park.
everyone in the
except
world,
us.
but I know that you used to watch it a little bit.
Not really. I mean, I'm sure I've watched an episode or two here or there, but I never really watched it.
That was really funny.
Yeah.
Thank you to everyone that reached out to us, and we'll try not to make that mistake again. But I did bring you a snack today.
Oh, good.
Are you ready?
I am ready. I'm really hungry. So I hope it's substantial.
I mean, you can eat as much of it as you want. You know that today's case is about Erin Patterson,
Right.
the mushroom murderer, you might want to call her.
Yep.
So I didn't make you beef Wellington, that's what she made her guests.
Oh, okay.
I made you a mushroom tart.
Oh.
And I promise that these you were not excited at all about that.
Not excited.
I think it's pretty good. I had a
Okay.
piece earlier. How do you feel about mushrooms from 1 to 10?
Mushrooms, I'm sort of neutral on. I don't like them. I don't think they really add a lot to a lot of things, but I don't dislike them either. They can be on a pizza or whatever, and it doesn't bother me, but I wouldn't really choose to put them on a pizza either.
I love mushrooms, and I have consumed dramatically less mushrooms since you and I have been together, and our kids aren't
they
really
really
big
love 'em.
mushroom fans. And mushrooms are really polarizing.
Yeah.
I think mushrooms and coconut and raisins, foods like that some people you either love them or you hate them.
Yeah.
The recipe is from a website called The Little Sunny Kitchen, and it's just called mushroom tart. And the recipe will be in the show notes. I'll have you try it right now.
Okay.
You didn't even eat a whole piece of the mushroom tart.
I
You didn't like it?
It wasn't bad. It was not bad. I didn't love it, but I didn't hate it. It's kind of how I feel about mushrooms in general. I'm
Yeah.
fairly neutral. I thought it tasted like a pizza with a
Right.
lot of mushrooms on it and not any tomato sauce.
I just took a piece of puff pastry, rolled it out, put some smoked Gouda on it, and then I sauteed a bunch of baby Bella mushrooms with some butter and some thyme. And
Yeah, I like the Gouda flavor. That was good.
yeah, smoked Gouda is one of my favorite cheeses.
Yeah.
What would you rate the mushroom tart?
I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10.
Okay, that's not too bad. I would give it an 8 out of 10. On July 29th, 2023, Erin Patterson, 48, a separated mother of 2, prepared a special luncheon. It was a cold, gloomy, quiet Saturday afternoon in Leongatha, a rural town nestled among the rolling hills of Victoria, Australia. Leongatha is a small town located in South Gippsland, about 135 kilometers, roughly 84 miles southeast of Melbourne. With a population of about 6,000, it's a close-knit farming-oriented community known for its rolling hills, dairy farms, and quiet, picturesque countryside. It was the kind of day that begs for comfort food and familiar company. Inside Aaron Patterson's kitchen, something delicious and indulgent was coming together that she'd toiled over all morning. Beef Wellington. Tender filet wrapped in golden puff pastry, layered with mushroom paste, and brushed with egg wash to a glossy finish. But Erin put her own spin on the recipe by making individual portions instead of the traditional loaf. As she put the final touches on the gourmet meal she'd been planning for weeks, her guests arrived. The aroma from the kitchen wafted through the house, creating a homey, welcoming feeling. As the 4 guests sat down at the table, Erin poured wine. The guests were her in-laws, Don and Gail Patterson, both 70, Gail's sister, Heather Wilkinson, 66, and Heather's husband, Ian, 68. One guest whose absence was notable was Simon Patterson, Erin's estranged husband. She was visibly irked that he'd abruptly canceled the night before after she'd carefully planned the meal for 2 weeks. Erin set aside a plate for Simon in case he changed his mind and decided to attend. She was hoping he would make an appearance. It was a family lunch meant to bring people back together, but also so Erin could share some unfortunate medical news and get their support. Ian, a pastor at a local church, said a prayer before the meal. The wine flowed, the conversation stayed polite, friendly, slightly strained perhaps, but everyone seemed to enjoy the meal. Forks cut cleanly through the tender pastry, releasing steam and the earthy aroma of mushrooms and beef. None of the guests at the table could have known this carefully planned meal was not meant for their sustenance and enjoyment, but was a calculated act of revenge to make them suffer, to pay for the slights and pain that Aaron Patterson had felt for months, even years. By midnight, all 4 guests were in their bathrooms, retching up the lunch, gravely ill. Within a week, 3 were dead. Only Ian Wilkinson survived, barely, and Erin, who claimed she too had eaten the meal, would soon be at the center of a shocking and deeply unsettling mystery that would captivate Australia and the rest of the world. One haunting question was asked over and over. Was it a tragic accident or something far more sinister? This lunch occurred almost exactly 2 years ago. And we should mention that in Australia, like the end of July is kind of the peak of their winter. It's the peak of our summer. It's the peak of their winter. So having like a nice, cozy, home-cooked meal was probably, a really nice way to spend your Saturday afternoon.
Yeah, it makes sense. It's kind of a heavy lunch though, right? But is that typical of Australia as well, do you think?
It's funny that you asked that because I had the same question. I reached out to one of our Aussie listeners, Sarah, and asked her that. And she said she thought because they were a church-going family that it wouldn't be that odd.
Okay.
Like they might all, get together on Saturday afternoon because they'd be busy Sunday at church.
Gotcha.
Late on the night before the luncheon, Simon and Aaron Patterson had the following text exchange.
Sorry, I feel too uncomfortable about coming to a lunch with you, Mom, Dad, Heather, and Ian tomorrow, but I'm happy to talk to you about your health and implications of that at another time if you'd like to discuss it on the phone. Just let me know.
That's really disappointing. I spent hours this week preparing lunch for tomorrow, which has been exhausting in light of the issues I'm facing. I spent a small fortune on beef fillet to make beef Wellington because I wanted it to be a special meal, as I may not be able to host a lunch like this again for some time. It's important to me that you are all there tomorrow and that I can have the conversation that I need to have. I hope that you change your mind. Your parents, Heather and Ian, are coming at 12:30. I hope to see you there. Simon never responded to that message and did not attend the lunch.
Lucky for him.
On the day of the luncheon, the 4 guests arrived together. Gail brought an orange cake for dessert. Erin and Simon's daughter and son, aged 9 and 14, were not at home during the meal. They'd gone to McDonald's for lunch and then to see a movie. The Wilkinsons had never visited Erin's new house before, so she gave them a tour of her home and garden. She served them each an individual beef Wellington with fresh foraged mushrooms. Before eating, they said a prayer led by Ian. In addition to the beef Wellingtons for each guest, Erin made mashed potatoes, gravy, and green beans served on a gray plate. Her own beef Wellington was served on a smaller orange plate. Later, Heather dwelt on this and asked Simon, "Is Erin short of crockery?" He admitted that she didn't have a large, complete set. Her dishes were piecemeal. Gail ate half of her beef Wellington, while Don ate his entire portion, as well as the other half of Gail's. Ian and Heather ate their entire portion. After the indulgent meal, everyone was full, but nibbled on the orange cake Gail had baked and a fruit platter Erin put out. After lunch, Erin broached the difficult conversation that had brought everyone together. She told her guests that she had been diagnosed with ovarian cancer and needed guidance on how to talk to her and Simon's children about her life-threatening illness. The group, visibly concerned, encouraged her to be honest with the kids, and Ian led them in a prayer for her. But in reality, Erin did not have cancer. She fabricated the diagnosis as a way to draw her in-laws to her home, and it also explained why her children weren't present at the meal. As the lunch was winding down, Aaron's son and his friend returned from the movies. Simon had picked them up but chose not to come inside, a detail that, while subtle, reflected the tension between him and Aaron at the time. His parents and his aunt and uncle are there, and he chose to not even come in and, say a quick hello.
Mm-hmm.
He and his daughter returned to his house. The guests departed around 2 p.m. as Ian had a 3 p.m. appointment with a parishioner. Within 12 hours of leaving Aaron's home, the 4 guests all became violently ill with vomiting and diarrhea. Don vomited more than 30 times before he called his son. Simon was shocked at the state of his parents when he arrived and immediately called an ambulance. Then he paid a visit to his aunt and uncle, finding them also incredibly sick. He drove them to the hospital himself because an ambulance would have taken too long. Doctors first believed that the 4 victims had food poisoning from the beef. None of them had remembered the finely chopped mushrooms in the beef Wellington. But the next day, the doctors realized that they'd fallen critically ill due to poisonous mushrooms. They were all in or near liver failure. Gail, Don, Heather, and Ian were all placed in medically induced comas, but 3 of them died within a week of the poisoning due to multiple organ failure, a brutal, long-suffering death. Don was given a liver transplant in hopes of improving his condition, but he continued to deteriorate after the surgery. He passed away on August 5th. Gail and Heather were both deemed too ill to undergo a liver transplant and died on August 4th. Ian was also given a liver transplant. His condition improved after the surgery, although his recovery was long. He spent 7 weeks in the hospital, including 3 weeks in the intensive care unit in an induced coma at the Austin Hospital in Melbourne. These 4 people were all a little older, but they were really good people, and as far as I know, in good health, and had many years to live. It's heartbreaking that their lives were ended in such a brutal and unkind way.
Yeah, so much suffering. It's just really awful.
Yeah.
Erin also sought medical treatment at Leongatha Hospital 2 days later on Monday, July 31st. She complained of gastrointestinal issues and diarrhea.
Something I learned while investigating this case, in Australia, here we would say, I have the stomach flu. In Australia, you say gastro.
Okay. Her vital signs were taken and her blood pressure and heart rate were found to be dangerously high, but she abruptly left the hospital, even signing a waiver that she was leaving against medical advice. She was there between 8:05 and 8:10.
Imagine going to the emergency room in the U.S. and being in and out in 5 minutes.
That is very hard to imagine.
But actually, Dr. Webster did say that there was some sort of bell that she was ringing. I think it was a bell that for nurse attention. But she kept ringing the bell over and over. And it was Monday morning, and he actually was very busy. But she was so persistent that he went and asked if he could help her.
Okay. After she left, Dr. Christopher Webster had an uneasy feeling. He had seen Gail, Don, Heather, and Ian and knew how sick they were. In fact, they were still at the hospital that morning, awaiting transfer to a larger hospital.
I think a couple of them may have been transferred already, but Dr. Webster said that he believed that where he was talking to Erin, that she could possibly see into at least one of their rooms.
Okay.
And he was struck by her not asking about their conditions.
Oh, interesting. Dr. Webster was afraid that Erin had also suffered from mushroom poisoning and wanted her to return to the hospital. He attempted to call her cell phone 3 times and left her several messages. When she didn't answer, he called the police for assistance.
Hello, what address do you need the police? This is Dr. Chris Webster calling from Leongatha Hospital, and I have a concern regarding a patient that presented here earlier but has left the building and is potentially exposed to a fatal toxin from mushroom poisoning, and I've tried several times to get hold of her on her mobile phone.
So before I get all that information in, what address do you need the police to attend, Dr. Chris?
Yeah, so, should I give the hospital address or the address of the patient?
If you know where they are, their address.
I have the address of the patient.
Yeah, go ahead with that.
Okay. Street.
Is that in Leongatha?
Leongatha 3953.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So 84 Gibson Street, Leongatha, Victoria. The nearest intersection is Worthy Street, is that correct?
I'd have to get Google Maps up, but yes, I would say that sounds right. That sounds like a street in Leongatha. Yeah.
What's her name?
So the last name is Patterson, Patterson.
First name?
Erin, Erin.
Do you have a date of birth?
30th of September, 1974.
When did she present at hospital?
At 8:05.
Today?
Yeah.
Mushroom poisoning, you said?
Yeah, so there were 5 people that ate a meal on Saturday, and 2 of them are in intensive care at Dandenong Hospital. 2 have just been transferred from Leongatha Hospital to Dandenong Hospital, and Erin presented this morning with symptoms of poisoning.
Bear with me. And what happened when she presented? She just got up and left?
No, there was time for the nurse to begin observations, and I was managing the other critically unwell patient, so I had a brief chat to her about where the mushrooms were obtained, and after that, while I was attending the other patients, the nurse informed me that she had discharged herself against medical advice. So I don't know exactly. Oh, we've got a form here. Hang on, let's tell me what time she left. No, it doesn't have a time. She left at 10 past. She was only here for 5 minutes.
I saw footage from video surveillance, and Erin can be seen wearing white pants. A lot of people have talked about Erin wearing white pants when she is having explosive diarrhea, and how most people would not choose to wear white pants.
Yeah, probably not.
Yeah.
Also, it's the middle of winter, too, and I know it's not...
Well, they were kind of cream colored, I think. But yeah,
Gotcha.
good point. I know you're like the fashion police.
Exactly. When police arrived at Erin's home, she didn't appear to be there. However, they retrieved scraps of the beef Wellington from her garbage and delivered them to the hospital shortly after 10 a.m. for testing. When officers called Erin on her cell phone, she was cooperative and provided them with the security code to open the gate. Erin voluntarily returned to the hospital an hour and 38 minutes after her initial visit, where she was kept for observation for 24 hours. The doctor treating her said that she was, quote, moderately dehydrated and appeared to have a gastrointestinal-type illness, but had no clinical or biochemical evidence of amanita, or mushroom, poisoning, or other toxicological substance ingestion. Her liver function was normal.
The best course of treatment for mushroom poisoning is to treat the liver or to block the enzymes from entering the liver.
Okay.
As with the other patients, they were all in liver failure. And so they thought, Erin was feeling okay. We should give her these liver blocking enzymes so it doesn't get to her liver.
So that might have been why her liver functions were normal?
Well, probably not, actually, because typically you are exhibiting symptoms like 12 hours after you ingest the mushrooms.
Okay.
So the fact that it was 2 days later, she probably was in the clear.
Right.
But they were being abundantly cautious because of the severity of the other 4 people's illness.
Sure. The hospital insisted that Erin's children also be admitted for observation, despite not displaying any symptoms. Erin had served them the leftover beef Wellington, but had scraped off the mushrooms. She was adamant that they hadn't eaten any of the mushrooms and didn't want them taken out of school, but Simon brought them to the hospital. Erin and the children were released the following day. None of them had the mushroom toxin in their bloodstreams. Erin, who had experienced issues with her potassium levels previously in her life, had normal potassium levels, which, if she had had explosive diarrhea as she had reported, would be a little surprising.
Mycologists or mushroom experts have said that the beef Wellington that Erin gave her kids, even if she had scraped off the pastry and the mushrooms, the mushroom toxins probably still would have leached into the beef.
Yeah, I would think so too.
Yeah.
Dr. Webster later told the Herald Sun that he knew Erin was a calculated murderer when she revealed to him that she had purchased the mushrooms for the dinner from Woolworth's, her local market. Quote, "If she said she picked the mushrooms, it would have been a very different mindset for me because there would have been an instant assumption it was all a tragic accident. But once she said that answer, my thoughts were, holy fucking shit, you fucking did it, you crazy bitch. You poisoned them all." He called Erin a, quote, "disturbed sociopathic nutbag." She wasn't freaking out about the safety of her children. Looking into her eyes, I thought, I don't know what planet you're on, but you're not on Earth. Here he is describing what it felt like to be in her presence.
There is an eerie sort of disquiet that you have in her presence, but it's not the typical sort of scary ogre type fear that you have. It's more visceral than that. It's sort of, you know, her oddness gets under your skin and penetrates your brain, and just it's not pleasant to be around her.
The Dr. Webster doesn't shy away from speaking his mind
guess
or
not.
using colorful language. We'll talk about that a little bit more later.
We'll be back after a break.
Long before the headlines of her deadly beef Wellington made international news, Erin Trudy Scudder was a bright young woman growing up in Melbourne's southeastern suburbs. Born in 1974 to a businessman father and a mother who was a children's literature professor at Monash University. Erin was raised in Glen Waverley in a family that valued education, ideas, and intellect. Her sister, Kynwyn, would go on to become a scientist. Erin, too, was curious and ambitious. She started out studying science at the University of Melbourne, then pivoted to accounting before becoming qualified as an air traffic controller in 2001. Erin met Simon Patterson in 2004 while working for Monash City Council. Erin was a representative for the RSPCA, or Royal Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals. Simon worked as a civil engineer. They were friends first, often spending time together in a larger group, going camping and taking trips together, before they became a couple in 2005, engaged a year later, and married in 2007 when Erin was 33. They shared a love of travel and moved across the country, living for a time in York and Pemberton, small towns in Western Australia, where Erin even ran a second-hand bookstore. But eventually, they returned to Victoria, settling in South Gippsland near Simon's family. Erin became active in the community, editing a local church newsletter, raising their 2 children, and in quieter moments indulging in her growing interest in true crime. We'll have to come back to that. Erin and Simon Patterson's marriage experienced frequent ups and downs, including several separations between 2009 and 2014, before they permanently separated in 2015. Their first separation occurred shortly after the birth of their first child, during a time when Erin was struggling with postpartum depression. Religion often played a central role in their marital challenges. Simon was a committed Christian, deeply involved in his Baptist church, particularly the one where his uncle Ian served as pastor. Erin, on the other hand, identified as a fundamentalist atheist before their marriage.
What is a fundamentalist atheist? Okay, well, a quick Google tells me what I probably should have known from the beginning, but it's basically an atheist who is very, strident in their views, intolerant of anything else.
Well, Erin did become a Christian after they wed, but there are signs that the shift in her belief may not have fully taken root. Despite their differences and eventual separation, Erin and Simon remained on amicable terms. They co-parented their 2 children, spent holidays together, attended church as a family, and even went on trips together. The lunch where Erin served the beef Wellington, allegedly containing death cap mushrooms, was not the first time she is accused of trying to harm Simon. Prosecutors pointed to 3 earlier incidents in November 2021, May 2022, and September 2022. During the May 2022 episode, Simon was hospitalized with serious gut problems and spent 21 days in intensive care.
Oh boy.
I wish I had more information about this, but
Yeah.
I couldn't find any more about it. But very interesting.
Yeah.
And I can't blame Simon for not going to the lunch that Aaron
No,
had.
I wish he would have warned his family members not to go.
I mean, I think he must have felt that, they were safe if he wasn't there.
Yeah.
Erin had inherited several millions of dollars from her grandmother and later from her mother. Financially comfortable, she didn't really need to work. She was also known to be generous with her money, reportedly loaning hundreds of thousands of dollars to Simon's brother and sister so they could build their own homes. After separating from Simon, Erin Patterson appeared to lead a quiet and increasingly isolated life in her rural Leongatha home. Beneath the surface, though, she carried deep emotional wounds, some dating back to her childhood. In messages posted to Facebook, Erin described her upbringing lacking warmth and affection. Quote, "We had a horrible upbringing. Mom was essentially a cold robot. It was like being brought up in a Russian orphanage where they don't touch the babies. Dad wanted to be warm and loving to us, but Mom wouldn't let him because it would spoil us, so he did as he was told." Erin's main social outlet was a true crime Facebook group where some of her private messages revealed rising resentment toward the Patterson family. In December 2022, Erin expressed frustration over her in-laws' reluctance to support her during her separation from Simon. Quote, "I'm sick of this shit. I want nothing to do with them. I thought his parents would want him to do the right thing, but it seems their concern about not wanting to feel uncomfortable and not wanting to get involved in their son's personal matters are overriding that, so fuck 'em." In another message, she added, "This family, I swear to fucking God."
So she's making these posts in a true crime Facebook group?
I think she just became very friendly with some
Okay.
of them, and she was just venting her
Yeah,
frustrations.
Gotcha.
But when you're married in your 40s with kids, should your parents be involved in your marriage?
I would hope not.
Yeah. Later, Erin expressed regret over the angry messages that she had sent, saying that she loved her in-laws and that they had always treated her like a daughter. In fact, she had frequent and friendly contact with Gail, often exchanging friendly and loving messages and sometimes parenting advice. On Mother's Day in 2023, just 2 months before the fatal lunch, Erin sent Gail a warm text message. "Happy Mother's Day. You're the best mother-in-law I could ask for." But her relationship with Simon continued to deteriorate. When he filed his taxes as a separated person in 2022, it altered Erin's own tax filing status, costing her a substantial exemption that she had relied on. In response, she demanded that Simon begin paying child support and contribute to school fees. They quarreled over their custody and financial agreements. Erin no longer allowed the children to spend the night at Simon's house because it was messy and chaotic. In text to friends, she referred to him as a deadbeat. I'm not sure if this is accurate, but I read that his child support payment was $38 a month, which seems really, really small.
Yeah.
Unless it was a week, but even a week, that seems really small.
And that's Australian dollars, but I think Australian dollars
they're
are not
comparable.
dramatically different. Yeah.
Yeah. I think Erin was comfortable. I'm not sure if she was well off. So maybe the payment was so low because she didn't really need the money.
Well, yeah, you said she had inherited quite a bit of money, right?
Well, she had built a house in the last year,
Mm-hmm.
year or so before, like in 2022, maybe she built a new house and she was pretty generous. So I'm not sure how much of that money she had left.
Gotcha.
Tensions escalated. Erin began sending aggressive text messages to Simon's parents, Don and Gail, who were reportedly hurt and confused by the tone and intensity of her messages. Erin was also deeply affected by what she perceived as being excluded from Patterson family events. One moment that especially stung was not being invited to Gail's 70th birthday party. Her hurt and anger were evident in a series of text messages sent at the time. "Seems like my invite tomorrow is a bit of an afterthought and not even from your parents, so I might pass thanks. What I reckon is that everybody forgot to invite me to this. I feel very hurt about that, and your response is to say I'm being ridiculous?"
Well, you can believe whatever you feel like, but frankly, you're as far off the mark as you possibly could be on this. I know they would love you to be there. They've been talking about this and losing sleep over it for weeks.
Erin went to the party with her children, but apparently an argument broke out between her and Simon. After the event, she sent another text apologizing. "I was feeling very hurt and lashed out. It's no excuse. I'd like to not do that again." That sounds like a text message I feel like sending anytime we have a social outing. But doesn't Simon come off as unflappable?
Yeah, he really does.
Yeah, I think you and Simon are probably quite similar. Despite the turmoil in her life, Erin made plans in 2022 to enroll in a midwifery program, but delayed her studies when her daughter required additional support at home.
There are over 5,000 varieties of mushrooms, and about 50 of them are poisonous. Deathcap mushrooms, or Amanita phalloides, and their relatives are among the most poisonous mushrooms in the world, and are responsible for the vast majority of fatal mushroom poisonings. They have a smooth, pale green or yellowish cap, white gills, and a white stem with a cup-like structure at the base, and typically measure between 4 and 16 centimeters, or 1.5 to 6 inches in diameter. Deathcaps contain potent toxins called amatoxins, which are deadly even in very small amounts and are not destroyed by cooking, freezing, or drying. Just one mushroom can be fatal to an adult. Symptoms typically appear 6 to 12 hours after ingestion and may include severe vomiting, diarrhea, and abdominal pain, followed by a deceptive period of improvement before liver and kidney failure sets in. Without prompt and aggressive treatment, including possible liver transplantation, death can occur within days. Native to Europe, deathcaps are now found across North America, Australia, and other parts of the world, often growing near oak, pine, or chestnut trees. They're especially dangerous because they closely resemble several edible mushrooms, making accidental ingestion tragically common. There's no antidote for deathcap mushroom poisoning. Experts think that Erin must have put at least 10 mushrooms in the beef Wellington to cause such serious illness and death. There is a new potential treatment for mushroom poisoning, an extract from a milk thistle plant called silibinin. It's not yet FDA approved, but has helped between 30 to 50% of patients, but it needs to be delivered quickly to counter the effects of toxins on the liver. But mushrooms aren't all bad. They are a low-calorie, nutrient-rich food that may support longevity and overall health. They're packed with B vitamins and antioxidants and are one of the few plant-based sources of vitamin D. These compounds help combat oxidative stress, reduce inflammation, and support immune function, all of which are key to healthy aging. Some varieties, like shiitake and lion's mane, have been linked to benefits like improved heart health, better cognitive function, and a lower risk of certain cancers. Including mushrooms in a balanced diet may contribute to a longer, healthier life. Is this your way of trying to convince me to like mushrooms more than I do?
I sometimes take a mushroom supplement. I mix it into my tea. It's supposed to help concentration and focus, and I really do think it works.
The commercial mushroom industry is highly regulated, ensuring that store-bought varieties are safe to eat. However, foraging for wild mushrooms carries significant risks. In countries like Switzerland, mushroom inspection stations are available where foragers can have their finds evaluated by experts before consuming them, but budget cuts have led to fewer inspection centers, resulting in more poisonings. One of the challenges is that toxic mushrooms can change in appearance throughout their life cycle, making it difficult even for experienced foragers and even mycologists to tell the difference between safe and poisonous varieties. While identification apps are available, they aren't always reliable. The same species of mushroom can look quite different depending on its age, the soil it grows in, and environmental conditions. I know here in Michigan, people really love to go hunting for morel mushrooms, right?
Yeah.
Since 2020, there has been an uptick of about 20% in mushroom-related illnesses and deaths as foraging has become a popular hobby. Many thousands of people become ill each year from eating inedible mushrooms, and dozens die.
I just want to reiterate here that mushrooms that you buy in your supermarket are very safe. They are grown for consumers.
Right.
And there's no question that they are safe. But when I was making the mushroom tart, I used baby Bella mushrooms. And mushrooms, like, you're not supposed to put them in water. You're just supposed to, like, rub them with a cloth to get the dirt off.
Okay.
And these were particularly dirty and kind of gross.
Interesting.
And I think I had it in high school and college. I had microbiology, and we studied fungi. And for a few years, I didn't eat mushrooms because fungi is weird.
It's a weird life form, isn't it? Yeah.
I've heard that there's new varieties of fungi that are emerging that might be life-threatening.
Oh.
I really don't have any more information for you than that. But
Okay.
yeah, it's just odd how they can just pop up out of nowhere.
Yeah, it really is. Looking for a new hobby during the 2020 COVID pandemic, Erin began foraging for mushrooms in the Corumburra Botanic Gardens near her home and in her backyard. In April 2023, the Victoria Department of Health issued a public warning that deathcap mushrooms were growing in the region. The deadly mushrooms were spotted a short drive from Erin's home in rural Victoria. On a website, iNaturalist, hobbyist foragers posted about the location of mushrooms they found in the wild, cautioning others to steer clear of the deadly fungi. One user gave the exact location of the death-cap mushrooms they'd spotted, giving precise latitude and longitude measurements. Erin's computer history showed that she visited the iNaturalist website at least once. It was a town called Locke in the Gippsland region. It was the first time the death-cap mushrooms had been spotted there, at least according to the website.
When law enforcement dug into Erin's phone and electronic devices, her location revealed that she was near the area where the death-cap mushrooms grew in April and May 2023. She'd spent about 25 minutes there, just long enough to find and pick the mushrooms. On April 28, 2023, the same day she was near one of the death-cap mushroom areas, she purchased a food dehydrator. Investigators believe that Erin has multiple phones, although she only turned over one. The iPhone she relinquished to police had been reset to factory settings 4 times, on February 12th and August 2nd, 5th, and 6th. The last reset was done remotely when the phone was already in the hands of law enforcement. That's a very brazen activity, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I didn't even know you could do that.
In surveillance camera footage, Erin is seen with a pink Samsung phone that has never been recovered. It seemed to be her primary phone between February and August 2023. Erin claimed that she purchased the mushrooms from a local market and adamantly denied the notion that she'd foraged the death-cap mushrooms. She told investigators that she'd purchased some of the mushrooms in powdered form from an Asian grocery store, but she couldn't recall which Asian grocery store or produce a receipt. Investigators visited all of the possible locations, but couldn't find the packaging that Erin had described. So she sent them on this wild goose chase. And it's kind of crazy to me that she couldn't say, "Oh yeah, I got the mushrooms from the store on First in Maine" or something.
That doesn't really...
Like she had went to so many different Asian food markets that, she couldn't pinpoint it.
Yeah, that doesn't add up.
When her bank records didn't reveal any activity at such a store, she claimed she must have paid cash. Erin purchased a mixture of wild mushrooms from a local Woolworths market, including a blend of shiitake, anaki, and porcini. They smelled pungent, she claimed. She mixed those mushrooms with some other mushrooms that she had previously dehydrated. On August 2nd, 2023, after leaving the hospital, she brought the food dehydrator to a recycling center, or as they'd say in Australia, a tip.
Tip.
She'd had a run-in with Simon at the hospital when his parents were still in the hospital, and he'd asked her if she'd used a dehydrator on the mushrooms that had killed his family members. Police went to the tip and were able to recover the food dehydrator, and they found Erin's fingerprints on the unit as well as death-cap mushroom residue inside.
That's pretty amazing they were able to find it.
Yeah. In a search of Erin's home on August 5th, police found a manual for the dehydrator in her kitchen. A review of surveillance video found clear images of her dropping it off. Unaware of the evidence against her, she told police that she'd never owned a dehydrator. A journalist, John Ferguson, who interviewed Erin, called her cold, mean, and vicious. The day after the lunch, Erin and her children skipped church because she wasn't feeling well. Her son had a flying lesson about 90 minutes from their home that afternoon. He told his mom that they could skip it, but they went anyway. Erin was seen on surveillance footage entering a gas station and heading to the restroom, again wearing the white pants. She was only inside for 9 seconds. She then purchased sour confectionery, a ham, cheese, and tomato sandwich, and a sweet chili chicken rut.
I have no idea what that is.
I really don't know what it is either. I think it might just be like a piece of chicken that is seasoned really well.
Okay.
I mention these things because none of these things seem like what you should be eating when you're having an upset stomach.
No.
But her son was with her, so maybe she was buying these snacks for her kid.
Okay.
But we mention this just because, she is supposed to not be feeling well, and she was only in the restroom for 9 seconds.
Right.
And she went on a 90-minute drive to take her son to this flying lesson.
Yeah.
And so...
Not something you would do if you had serious gastrointestinal issues.
Exactly. But later, she claimed that she had to stop on the side of the road to relieve herself and only stopped at the gas station to dispose of soiled tissues.
Okay, thanks for putting that image in my head.
During a police interrogation, Erin denied intentionally poisoning her in-laws. She said, quote, My parents are both gone. My grandparents are all gone. They're the only family that I've got. I love them a lot. Here's Erin talking to the media about her in-laws.
It's a tragedy what's happened.
Can you tell us about the meal that you cooked?
I'm so devastated by what's happened, by the loss of Don. Don is still in hospital. The loss of Ian and Heather and Gail. They were some of the best people that I've ever met.
The media was relentless in their pursuit of Erin, and it was starting to bother her.
Erin, how are you going? Are you okay?
I'm going shithouse. Thanks for asking. You guys aren't helping.
I am adding that to my vocabulary. Next time you ask me how I'm doing or how I'm going, I'm going to say, I'm going shithouse.
I did Google it just to make sure that the definition of that was what you think it is. And yeah,
okay.
It's pretty clear. Yeah, it's a good word.
Yeah.
We'll be back after a break.
Sensing an impending arrest, on November 1st, 2023, Erin had a party at her house with her children and her closest friends. She was arrested the next day and charged with 3 counts of murder and 5 counts of attempted murder. She pleaded not guilty. While in jail, she was mostly kept in solitary confinement after a fellow inmate accused her of tampering with her food. The inmate felt ill after she cooked a meal for her, and Erin was banned from the prison kitchen. I would have thought Erin would have been banned from the prison kitchen to begin with, but okay. While Erin remained incarcerated after her arrest, her home had been burglarized several times, with thieves taking TVs, a vacuum, surveillance cameras, and even a car. The trial of Erin Patterson gripped the nation of Australia. 50 witnesses testified over a 10-week period. The trial took place in Morwell, about an hour from Erin's home in Leongatha. In Australia, no cameras are allowed in the courtrooms. The public depended on journalists and podcasters for details of the trial day to day. On the eve of the trial, the attempted murder charge for Simon was dismissed. Prosecutor Nanette Rogers, SC, attempted to prove that Erin set out on 4 calculated deceptions. Quote, the first deception was the fabricated cancer claim she used as a pretense for the lunch invitation. The second deception was the lethal doses of poison the accused secreted in the home-cooked beef Wellingtons. The third deception was her attempts to make it seem that she also suffered death-cap mushroom poisoning. And the fourth deception, the sustained cover-up she embarked upon to conceal the truth. Simon was the first witness. He became emotional many times during his testimony when talking about his parents and the early days of his relationship with Erin. He recalled that she had a good relationship with his parents. Quote, she especially got on with Dad. They shared a love of knowledge and learning. I think she loved his gentle nature. Although at the time of the luncheon their relationship was very strained, he hadn't given up on the thought of them reconciling. He said it was rare for Erin to host people in her home, especially a group of that size. He talked about the breakdown in their communication in December 2022. He said, quote, from my point of view, Erin was being extremely aggressive. Dr. Christopher Weber, who treated Erin in the hospital, testified that he believed she was faking her symptoms and called her a callous, calculated killer. He said he knew she was lying when she said she'd purchased the mushrooms from a local grocer. Ian Wilkinson, a local pastor and the sole survivor of the luncheon, testified at the trial. He stood while giving his testimony.
I thought it was very brave of Ian to testify.
Mm-hmm.
He really had been through a lot. He lost his wife and 2 very beloved family members, and he almost died himself. I think his recovery was very long. I mean, he was almost 70.
Mm-hmm.
Having a liver transplant, I'm sure, is no picnic. And the fact that he stood during his testimony when I think most people in Australia stand when they're testifying, but they offer them chairs, especially if you are in a compromised state of health.
Yeah,
so he just
really impressive.
Seems like a wonderful man who has really been through a lot.
Ian and Heather were pleased to be invited to the lunch, and he hoped that it might improve the family's relationship with Erin. He said that at the luncheon, he had noticed that Erin had used a plate that was a different size and color than the rest of the guests. Ian said, quote, each person had an individual serve. It was very much like a pasty. It was a pastry case, and when we cut into it, there was steak and mushrooms. He testified that when he was admitted to the hospital, he had forgotten about the mushrooms in the dish and hadn't mentioned them to the doctor. He said that he'd seen Erin eating but couldn't remember how much she had eaten. When asked about his relationship with Aaron, Ian said, quote, "I would say our relationship was friendly, amicable. It did not have much depth. We were more like acquaintances. We didn't see a great deal of each other. She just seemed like a normal person to me. When we met, things were friendly. We never had arguments or disputes. She just seemed like an ordinary person. Heather would have seen Erin more than me, talked to her more than me, but we did not consider that the relationship was close." Regarding being invited for lunch, he said that he and his wife were, quote, "very happy to be invited. It seemed like maybe our relationship was going to improve. We were very happy to accept." In regards to Erin's announcement about her health, Ian said, quote, "She said she was very concerned because she believed it was very serious, life-threatening. She was anxious about telling the kids. She was asking our advice about that. Should I tell the kids or not tell the kids about this threat to my life? In that moment, I thought this is the reason we've been invited to the lunch. I didn't quite catch what type of cancer she had. I thought it was some sort of ovarian or cervical cancer, something like that. I realized we weren't able to continue and that we hadn't prayed about it. I suggested we pray, and I said a prayer asking for God's blessing that Erin would get the treatment she needed, that the kids would be okay." Ian is sure that Erin used the word cancer.
The defense pointed to the lack of motive. Erin was well off, had a good custody agreement with Simon in which she had the children the majority of the time, and her children loved their grandparents. But remember, the prosecution didn't have to prove a motive. They explained away Erin's lies and deceit as panic after she realized that she'd unintentionally done away with beloved relatives. The cancer lie? That was Erin embarrassed about an upcoming weight loss surgery she was planning. But there is no evidence that Erin had a surgery planned, and she gave the police the name of the clinic, and that clinic didn't even offer any kind of weight loss surgeries.
That seems like that'd be such an easy thing for the police to check out, that why would she do that,
Yeah. The allegation that she'd visited towns with death cap mushrooms was not proof and didn't pinpoint her location precisely. A friend from the online true crime group that Erin belonged to, Daniela Barkley, testified that Erin had excitedly shared pictures with the group of mushrooms in her new dehydrator. Erin told the group that she'd, quote, "been hiding powdered mushrooms in everything to trick her kids into eating them. Quote, I mixed it with chocolate brownies yesterday and the kids had no idea." She had also asked the group for tips on making beef Wellington.
Wow.
I think this is to say that, she wasn't trying to hide these things. Both of Erin's children testified via video from interviews they gave in 2023 when they were 9 and 14. The children both confirmed that they'd eaten leftover meat from the previous day's lunch the next night for dinner without the mushrooms or pastry. Allegedly, it was the portion that Erin had reserved for Simon. The son said that in recent months, his parents had been arguing more than usual. The daughter said that her mother had told her that she couldn't be at the lunch because they were going to discuss adult things. Erin testified at length in her own defense, maintaining that the deaths were the result of a tragic accident. Always a risky move to testify at your own trial. Some say that she came off as odd, joking awkwardly at times and sometimes appearing combative with the prosecutor. Erin said that she might have inadvertently mixed dried foraged mushrooms that she had kept mixed in with store-bought ones, not realizing that the foraged ones were deadly. This mushroom business is very confusing to me.
Yeah.
She had some mushrooms that were in a powdered form. Then she'd bought some from the store, and then she admits that she may have foraged some of them, and somehow they all got mixed together.
Okay.
She did not deny that there were death cap mushrooms in the beef Wellington, but she wasn't sure how they got there. She said that she had consumed the same meal, individual parcels of beef Wellington, but then after her guests left, she had binge eaten about 3/4 of the orange cake that Gail had made, and then vomited it up because she was so full. Her attorneys explained that this purging might be why she fared better than her lunch guests.
Oh, okay.
Quote, "I ate another piece of cake and then another piece, so I went to the toilet and brought it back up again. After I'd done that, I felt better."
A novel defense.
Yeah. Well, Erin went on to explain that she had struggled with binge eating disorder for most of her adult life. She talked about her struggle with self-esteem and how putting weight on in recent years had added to her mental health issues. In late 2022, she felt Simon and his family were pulling away from her and inviting her to fewer family functions, and that is why she invited them to her house for lunch.
I kind of wondered about that because it seemed odd to invite your in-laws from your husband who you were separated from to a lunch, you know?
Well, I thought the idea was that she had this health issue and she needed their support. And Ian was a pastor, and, pastors are really good to talk about, your struggles with.
Right.
And I think that's why she invited him. But,
Yeah.
But clearly, no, that's not why she invited them. Erin said she prefers exotic mushrooms because they just taste more interesting and they have more flavor. They tasted good and I didn't get sick. She said she made the beef Wellingtons to make something new and special and added the dried mushrooms because the paste was bland.
The paste being like what's rubbed on the
It's
beef?
the mushrooms that are finely minced.
Okay.
I don't know. I've never made beef Wellington. I've always wanted to try it, but I've never made it. But I'm not sure what you make to make the paste, but somehow you mix it all together and you stick it on the beef and then you wrap it in the pastry.
Gotcha.
I am curious too. Like here she's saying, well, it was bland, so it means that she must have tasted it. And if you're tasting, why didn't you get? And I know she's saying that she vomited it up, but
that would have been, she would have tasted it way before it was actually done, right?
Yeah. She admitted that she'd disposed of the food dehydrator after her in-laws fell ill when she realized that she may have been culpable. She admitted to lying to investigators because she was fearful of being arrested and losing custody of her children. Quote, I agree that I lied because I was afraid I would be held responsible. When asked if she believed that there were death cap mushrooms in the beef Wellington, she replied that she did, but insisted that it was a horrible accident. Over the course of 8 days of testimony and cross-examination, Erin steadfastly maintained her innocence, insisting that she accidentally included foraged mushrooms in the beef Wellington.
The most baffling part of the case for many has been the lack of a clear motive. Prosecutor Nanette Rogers even struggled presenting the case with no motive. In her closing arguments, she said, quote, she alone chose what to cook, obtained the ingredients, and prepared the meal. That choice to make individual portions allowed her complete control over the ingredients in each individual parcel.
I believe that Erin said that she couldn't find the right cut of meat, and that's why she chose to make the individual portions.
Okay. On June 30th, 2025, the 12 jurors, 7 men and 5 women, began their deliberations to decide Erin's fate. The judge, Justice Christopher Beale, reminded jurors that Erin's lies and disposal of evidence should not bias their judgment against her. He said, quote, this is a court of law, not a court of morals. The jury's decision must be unanimous. Because of the media attention the case has received, the jury was sequestered with no access to their cell phones.
In the United States, if you're an alternate juror, you know that you're an alternate juror. In Australia, what they did is right before that they were about to deliberate, they pick 2 numbers out of a box, and those people were dismissed.
Oh, that seems smart because
I think
if
so
you're
too.
an alternate juror and you know you're an alternate juror, you might not pay as close of attention,
Exactly.
right? Erin's supporters installed black tarps around the front walkway and carport of her home to shield her from the media, signaling that she was hopeful of her release. On Monday, July 7th, after 6 days, the jury reached a consensus. Under Australian law, unlike in the U.S., none of the jurors can be publicly identified, and they're prohibited from disclosing jury room deliberations, which are considered secret even after the trial ends.
Which, again, I think that's a pretty good way of handling that.
It is, but as a true crime podcaster, I really like it when I can hear what the jurors have to say after the trial's over.
I think I realized that I forgot to say something that is very important. Erin was on the stand testifying for 8 days.
8 days.
8 days.
Wow, that's a lot of time.
Right.
After reaching the verdict, the jury filed into the courtroom around 2 p.m. The victims' families had attended the trial each day, but were not present when the verdict was read. Erin tried to make eye contact with the jurors, but they avoided her gaze. As the verdict was read, she looked calm and poised, but blinked furiously, as if to keep her emotions at bay. She was found guilty on all 3 counts of murder and 1 count of attempted murder. Her sentencing will be announced at a future date, but it's likely she will receive a lifetime sentence. She has 28 days to file an appeal, and as of the time we're recording, it hasn't yet been filed. After the verdict, she was taken to the maximum security Dame Phyllis Frost Center, the largest, toughest, and only maximum security women's prison in Victoria, about 45 minutes from Melbourne. Erin will likely again be in solitary confinement because of the severity of her crime against elderly people. The inmates read the news and are well aware of who she is. She will likely die in this prison unless her appeal goes through. She is the only triple murderer in the prison.
The Patterson and Wilkinson families declined to make a statement after the verdict, but the police released the following statement, quote, "The Victoria Police acknowledge the decision of the jury today. Our thoughts are with their respective families at this time, and we acknowledge how difficult these past 2 years have been for them. We will continue to support them in every way possible following this decision. We would like to acknowledge the work of the homicide squad detective over the course of this complex investigation, as well as the significant support received from a number of other areas across Victoria Police, and that the Patterson and Wilkinson families will not be supplying a statement at this time." The beef Wellington recipe that Erin used came from the book Recipe Tin Eats Dinner from famed Australian chef Nagi Mahashi. I visit her website all the time. If you haven't gone there, she has really great recipes. She's adorable and very funny. She just developed a recipe this week for peanut butter brownies that she was really proud of. She hasn't posted the recipe yet, but I'm excited to make those for you. In response to the media storm surrounding the case, she wrote on her website, quote, "Dear journalists of Australia, please stop calling and emailing and texting and DMing me about the Aaron Patterson case. It is of course upsetting to learn that one of my recipes, possibly the one that I've spent more hours perfecting than any other, something I created to bring joy and happiness, is entangled in a tragic situation. Other than that, I have nothing to say and I won't be talking to anyone. Thank you for respecting my privacy."
I mean, really, if you think about it, why would the media be contacting her? It's just a recipe, right?
Yeah, her recipe did not say death cap mushrooms in it. Lauren Sykes, a Swinburne University PhD candidate in true crime podcasting, told news.com.au that the media and public have turned a devastating loss of life into a show for their own amusement. Quote, "From an avalanche of memes about the case to journalists hounding the author of the cookbook Patterson based her beef Wellington recipe on, there has been no shortage of unhelpful and deeply unserious behavior online, which has been spurred by this case. The Aaron Patterson case had all the hallmarks of a classic true crime tale: fraught interpersonal family relationships which led to murder, a perpetrator who has been described as narcissistic and evil, and an investigation with enough twists and turns to rival any true crime podcast or series. The tense media and public attention on this case was inevitable, but the amount of online discussion and in-person gossiping about the Patterson case reveals how easy it is to turn unthinkable tragedy into an amusing pop culture moment to chat about. Murder is not fun. Having not just one, but several family members ripped away from you by the actions of another is a harrowing experience. The last thing the Patterson and Wilkinson families need is more eyes on them during such a horrifying moment in their lives. This pain and grief will be with them for the rest of their lives. The intense international media coverage this case has received will certainly not have helped them grieve."
Well, that's a very well said statement.
I thought so too, and we talk about this all the time, off air and on air. It's
a struggle. I mean, we are sharing these stories, and they are about tragic things that happen, and we try to have a little fun while we tell the stories, but we try not to let that interfere with respect for the victims and that type of thing.
Right.
But
we try our best, but it's a delicate balance.
It really
and
is.
We can't say it enough that we realize that it is precarious, the situation that we put ourselves in, because we do respect the victims, and not just the victims, but the families and even the communities.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The elder Pattersons and Wilkinsons lived in the quaint village of Corumburra, population 5,000. Don and Gail had lived there since 1984 and had raised their 4 children there. Ian Wilkinson was the pastor of the local Baptist church for over 20 years. He and Heather also had 4 children. The people of Corumburra haven't enjoyed being in the spotlight or talking about the deceased victims. Everyone in the village knows someone who has been directly affected by the tragedy. Nathan Hershey, a cattle farmer and counselor for Corumburra, told the BBC after the verdict was announced, quote, "It's not an easy thing to go through a grieving process, and it's particularly not easy when there's been so much attention. There's an opportunity now for a lot of people to be able to have some closure." The locals are fiercely loyal and grateful to Gail, Don, Heather, and Ian, who helped build and strengthen their community. Don was a former beloved school teacher. Hershey said, quote, "You'll hear a lot of people talk very fondly about Don, about the impact he had on them. He was a great teacher and a really engaging person as well." Gail and Heather were known for their kindness, generosity, and willingness to volunteer for various community projects. Hershey said, quote, "Lives in our local community have changed forever, but I would say for a lot of people, it's just become almost like pop culture. Though the past 2 years has at times brought out the worst in our community, it's also shown a light on the best. We want to be known as a community that has been strong and has supported one another, rather than a place that is known for what we now know was murder." 3 crosses were mounted at the entrance of the township in the victim's honor. A message was posted outside of the church where Ian is pastor after the verdict was read. Quote, "We all greatly miss Heather, Don, and Gail, whether we were friends for a short time or over 20 years. They were very special people who loved God and loved to bless others. It's been a long journey, and we continue to support Ian, Simon, and all of the Wilkinson and Patterson family members through this difficult time. We appreciate all of the care from our local communities, special support from individuals, and from the Baptist Union of Victoria, and the churches and people from all over the world who have been praying for us. As our pastor Ian has said, quote, life can be hard, but our God is faithful, and he is always with us. The Wilkinson and Patterson families have asked for privacy during this time. Please also respect the privacy of our church family. Rest in peace, Gail, Don, and Heather."
Yes, rest in peace.
I'm so glad Ian survived, though.
Yeah, for sure.
But it must be hard to be the only survivor of this.
I'm sure there's a lot of survivor's guilt that goes along with that.
Probably a lot of gratitude, too.
Yeah.
Before I ask you some discussion questions, I wanted to review the exculpatory and inculpatory evidence.
Okay.
The inculpatory evidence includes Erin choosing to make beef Wellington, where she could chop up the mushrooms. The mushrooms were deadly and, make it really small so the guests really didn't know what they were eating.
Right.
And then she chose to make them into individual portions where she could maybe make some without the poisonous mushrooms for herself.
And the fact that her plate was a different color.
Right. The cancer diagnosis, she never had cancer, although I don't know if I said this, but during the trial, she swore that she didn't say the word cancer, that she said that she was ill.
Okay.
She had visited the iNaturalist website searching for the death cap mushrooms, and her phone pinged near the reported area. Erin claimed to have bought the mushrooms at, the local Asian grocery store, but no one else
couldn't
got
remember
sick.
Where it was either.
Right. But can you imagine the panic for the police at first when this, regular middle-aged mom is like, I made this beef Wellington and everyone got sick. They're probably really scared that other people in the community are going to get sick from these mushrooms. So they really did try hard to find them. She reset her electronic devices to factory settings multiple times. She disposed of the dehydrator. And even though she said she was sick, she really wasn't sick, especially compared to the other people at the lunch. Do you think that there's any exculpatory evidence?
I don't recall hearing anything that was super exculpatory up to this point. But
when I first heard about the case, when I heard that she fed the leftovers to her children and they didn't get sick, and I was like, well, what mother would feed, the leftovers to their children? Yeah. The prosecutor says that she had some different beef, and she probably gave her kids beef that had never touched the mushrooms. She didn't give them anything that she'd scraped the toxic mushrooms from.
Yeah, that's probably true.
Her son did testify, though. He said, we had the beef, and it was some of the best beef I had ever had. It was delicious. The fact that she shared some of the pictures with her Facebook friends and she put the dehydrated mushrooms, that was kind of telling to me. In one of the pictures, I'll post the picture. I think there are 14 mushrooms that she has on the tray of the dehydrator, and she has them on a scale. Yeah. Having them on the scale is a little damning, too, because that indicates that maybe she knew exactly how much
out.
Yeah. I think, like I said, there were 14 mushrooms. One death cap mushroom might be deadly, but 2, definitely is going to be more deadly.
Right.
And the fact that she dehydrated them, there were a limited supply of death cap mushrooms, and she wouldn't want to keep going back there. So maybe that's why she chose to dehydrate them too.
Okay.
She claimed that she had been putting mushrooms in everything. She wasn't trying to hide the fact that, she was really into mushrooms and she was feeding them to her kids and dehydrating them and whatnot. She was very cooperative in the investigation. I know none of these are like, oh yeah, she couldn't have done it because she was cooperating with the police.
Yeah.
And the lack of a clear motive.
Yeah, that's the one that kind of gets me. I don't really see what the motive is there.
I know I shouldn't be diagnosing people with psychological disorders, but I think Erin could have borderline personality disorder. We talk about this a lot, characterized by intense emotions, unstable relationship, a distorted self-image, and impulsive behaviors. People with BPD may experience mood swings, fear of abandonment, and difficulty managing their anger. They often struggle with a deep inner turmoil and may alternate between idealizing and devaluing others. So I mention this because she did have this distorted self-image.
Right.
And we talk about this every time someone in one of our cases has borderline personality disorder. The fear of abandonment.
Yeah.
So Simon is leaving her. She's feeling like, Gail and Don and
that was
Ian
her
and
only
Heather.
family she had because her parents were
and
gone.
she's feeling like they're moving on without her.
Yeah.
So I think she might have been lonely and angry. It was festering inside of her. She was fixating on these relationships, and she just couldn't move on.
Yeah. Well, that's a much more subtle and nuanced diagnosis than I was going to make, which is that she had a screw loose and there was just something off with her, is what it seemed like.
So you think Erin is guilty?
Yes, I do think she is guilty. It just seems like it would be too much of a coincidence that she didn't get sick, that she had a different color plate. It just seems like too much. And the fact that she said that she bought the mushrooms and then she had the searches.
So all the lies that she...
Yeah,
she
it was all too much for me to believe. Honestly, I think if she had said that from the beginning, if she said, oh, I foraged for mushrooms and I didn't realize they were poisonous, I made a terrible mistake, I think she might have gotten away with it. I still think she might have done it intentionally, but it just seems like all those lies kind of caught up to her.
Yeah, I agree. Why is everyone so interested in this case?
It's a good question. I think that the podcast PhD person said it well, right? It's sort of this interpersonal family dynamics and this perpetrator who is narcissistic and evil, and the fact that I think any of us can imagine being in a situation where we, eat something and are poisoned, and I don't know, you could just feel you can just feel it, sort of the personal nature of it. And
I think people are really intrigued by Erin as a person. She seems like such an average, middle-aged woman.
Right.
She could be your neighbor, she could be your aunt, she's
Right.
any woman. And any person really is capable of murder.
Yeah. Well, and I think also the availability of poison mushrooms, I think it's a little bit of a scary thing, right?
Yeah.
Just knowing that you can go pick a mushroom thinking it's going to be perfectly fine and it could kill you.
I read a lot of accounts of people who were like, I saw it was mowing the lawn and I saw some mushrooms growing in my ditch. And I said, well, those look delicious. And I cooked them up in some butter.
Oh, boy.
And that is the scary thing, because I did look at a lot of pictures, and the death cap mushrooms, they do look delicious.
Yeah.
I mean, they look like, just regular mushrooms. So really,
Right.
if you're a mushroom forager, you probably know what you're doing for the most part.
Yeah.
But
Just be careful.
we talked a little bit about Switzerland, how they have these stations where you can take your foraged
that's a great idea.
mushrooms. It is a really good idea. And they said that, we're professionals, but sometimes we don't even really know.
Oh, boy.
Because they can be different colors and different
Yeah.
seasons and different sizes. And
Yeah, it's very tricky.
after Simon canceled, why did Erin go through with the lunch?
That's a very good question. It just feels like she had made all these plans and she was just going to go through with it no matter what. Obviously, she wanted him there. She made that very clear, but it just almost seems like she had it all planned out and she didn't want to cancel her plans,
Well, and the way that she could hurt Simon the most would be to kill the people he loved,
Yeah,
too.
that's true. Good point.
And talking about survivor's guilt,
Oh,
Simon
yeah.
must have a horrible survivor's guilt.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Erin was a true crime consumer.
Right.
Do you think that she could have gotten away with it if she would? Did she not plan good enough?
Well, like I said before, I think she could have gotten away with it if she just basically from the beginning made it seem like a tragic accident that she foraged mushrooms that were poisonous, although her internet search histories might have still brought her down with that. But
Yeah.
I think
If you were on the jury, you would have found her guilty.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, like we always say, it's hard to say without listening to all the testimony, but from everything you shared with me about the case, it seems pretty clear to me that she did it intentionally.
I think she came off as pretty unlikable to a lot of people. Remember Dr. Chris, the 911 call, or the 000 call we listened to?
Yep.
He mentioned that he had a previous interaction with Erin years ago, and he remembered her. And he said that, he seems like a very affable guy.
Mm-hmm.
And he tried to make jokes with her or, lighten the mood. And he said that she was a tough crowd.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the way he described her, that kind of has stuck with me from when we talked about that, because he couldn't describe her very well, but he was like, there's just something off about her. And it really, I can kind of see that.
Well, speaking of Dr. Webster, he is very important to the case. Had he not called 000, the scraps from the meal might not have been gathered in time, and they became a key piece of evidence. The police went looking for Erin. They went to her house. When she didn't appear to be home, they notified Dr. Webster, who then told them to check her trash for the beef Wellington. He said that he almost instantly realized that Erin was a murderer after she left the hospital the first time. His nurse said, quote, "Looks like someone is trying to do away with the church crowd." But Dr. Chris is now under fire for his comments, and he has been accused of misogyny. When I read this, I'm not I think that other people are talking about when he called Erin some names. He called her a bitch and other things.
Yeah.
So I think people were citing that as misogyny.
Okay.
So he's a little nervous that, his reputation is ruined.
Yeah.
But I think most people probably don't think that. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know either. I haven't listened
He
to
seems like
everything that he
like
said,
a good
but
guy to me.
yeah.
I'm not sure how the laws work in Australia. I think our friend Chanel, I asked her about this and she wasn't sure either. But the police went in Erin's trash to get the beef Wellington out. And I don't believe they had a search warrant because I don't think they could have gotten one so quickly because remember, Erin was like at the hospital at 8 a.m. and they were at her house by 10 a.m.
Okay.
So like in the United States, you have to have a search warrant, I think, unless the trash is out at the curb.
Well, that's what I was going to ask too. Was the trash in the house or was it?
I don't think the trash
or
was in the house. I think
garage?
it was, I don't know if it was, out at the road
Okay.
or, if it was by the house.
Yeah.
That would be something that I would be afraid that might come back in an appeal
Yeah.
type situation.
Yeah.
Like if it wasn't properly. But haven't heard anyone mention that. So it's probably,
Yeah, let's hope it's all
it's
on the up
probably
and up.
legal. Yeah. I do want to mention my sources for this episode. I listened to a couple of different podcasts, the Mushroom Cook podcast and the Mushroom Trial podcast. I watched an episode of 60 Minutes Australia, which I watched a few of those for different cases, and they really do a good job in that show. And I also read about 100 articles.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I hope we did it justice. But the other podcasts were really interesting and informative.
Yeah.
I just have such a love for our Australian listeners.
Yeah,
And they just seem
I do
like
too.
the best people.
Yep.
So thanks to Chanel, who I mentioned, and Sarah, who helped me out, and Dave, who is your friend, who always helps us out too. So we love you guys, and we really appreciate your assistance. Oh, and one more, Bronny B. Thank you so much. I love you. Appreciate you.
One of the things that Dave assisted us on, although not in time, I messaged him a while ago, but we're always like pronunciations are always a challenge of like cities and things like that. And there were a lot in this episode of different pronunciations, but the big one, Melbourne or Melbourne or Melbourne, depending on who you ask. So I messaged Dave and I asked him how you pronounce the name of that city, because he's from there. And here's what he had to say.
Melbourne.
So Melbourne,
which
sounds really weird.
Well, it sounds weird in our American accent. It sounds, great in the Australian accent.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
we try our
for sure.
best, but obviously we make mistakes
We do.
all the time. And that's okay.
That's okay.
So I talk to a lot of listeners online, especially on Instagram, and I love talking to everyone, but this is kind of funny. If you change your profile picture, I'm not going to know who I'm talking to. And a lot of people, like, I don't even know, like when I said Bronny, I'm like, I think that's her name, but I don't know what, sometimes people, like their Instagram profile name isn't their real name.
Right.
It's just like loves flowers or, whatever it is. Like, so, try not to change your profile picture because I might not know who you are, which I feel really bad saying, which is great.
I think it's a common thing. I think you remember somebody based on their profile picture, not their name.
Yeah. Well, you know that I'm young and hip and cool because I watched Love Island.
Of course.
I've learned a lot of new words.
Yeah.
And I thought I might give you a little quiz to see if you know what some of these words that I'm going to be using now around the house are.
Okay. Well, I probably won't, but this will be good for me.
Actually, I think you're going to know. I think you're going to know some of them.
Okay, I'm not
and I hope
sure.
it will help our listeners be able to talk to your Zoomers.
See, I don't even know what a Zoomer is.
Yeah, you do. Our kids talk about it all the time.
I've heard the term, but I really don't know where a Zoomer is in the whole, scheme of different generations.
Yeah.
But...
Okay. Well, our kids are Zoomers, and
Okay.
we do have some younger people that listen to us
Yeah.
too, but I think most people are, parents that listen
Right.
to us. Right. What does cap mean? Cap or no cap? I'm
But
going to give you some options.
I think cap is something to do with like your salary in Major League
your maximum
Baseball.
okay.
But go ahead.
Does it mean, if someone says that's cap, does it mean A, that's a lie, B, that's a trend, C, that's cool, or D, that's confusing?
I'm gonna go with that's cool because it sounds sort of like capital, like maybe it's short for
Because people say
capital.
cap or no cap. So you're wrong.
Okay.
Cap means lie.
Oh.
And no cap means for real.
Okay.
What do you think bussin' means?
Bussin'?
This mac and cheese is bussin'. A, it's rich. B, it's spicy. C, it's delicious. Or D, it's hot. Bussin', by the way, is spelled B-U-S-S-I-N.
Oh, jeez. What are my choice? I have no idea.
Rich, spicy, delicious, or too hot.
I'm just gonna go with delicious, but I really have no idea.
Correct.
Oh,
It means really, really good.
Hmm.
Our son said this is an older one and I shouldn't do it, but I'm just going to do it anyway. Gyat. It's G-Y-A-T. She's got that gyat walking past. A, swag. B, energy. C, hair. Or D, backside.
Swag.
No, it is slang for big butt.
Okay.
Usually said with awe or thirst. I'm sorry. 4, dead ass. You dead ass forgot your keys again? A, seriously. B, accidentally. C, nervously. Or D, loudly.
I think this one is seriously.
Correct.
Okay, that's the only one I felt like I kind of might have known.
I am not keeping a score, just
Okay,
for the record. If
that's
you want to
good.
keep your own score,
No,
that's good.
No.
Simpin'. He's texting her 14 times a day. Total simp. S-I-M-P. He's obsessed. He's threatening. He's detached. Or he's confused.
Threatening?
No. He's obsessed. Simping means doing too much for someone who isn't reciprocating.
Okay.
What would we have called? Like, he's whipped, maybe?
Yeah.
Yeah. Crashing out. Bro is crashing out over his breakup. A, taking a nap. B, giving up. C, going wild and ruining everything. Or D, posting cryptic Instagram stories.
I would have said taking a nap, but that's what, we would have said years ago. I'm going to crash.
Yeah.
But I'm going to say going wild.
Yeah. Losing control, self-destructing, usually emotionally or impulsively. I think you're going to nail this next
Oh, do
one.
you? Okay.
Yeah. Riz.
Oh, I know this one.
I think you do. He doesn't look like much, but his riz is crazy. A, his jokes. B, his money. C, his fashion. D, his charm or game.
Charm, because it's short for charisma, right?
Exactly, yes. Sending me / I'm dead. That video is sending me I'm dead. Does it mean A, I'm confused, B, I'm laughing way too hard, C, I'm offended, or D, I'm out of here?
I'm going to say I'm laughing way too hard.
Yeah, it's the modern LOL, extreme laughter. You're doing great, sweetie.
Yeah. Thanks.
Main character energy. She's walking in like she's got main character energy. Is it A, self-centered, B, she's confident like the star of the show, C, she's extra, D, she's looking for attention?
Oh boy, those all sound kind of similar. I mean,
Yeah.
I think like being self-centered, like you're the star of the show.
Right. So you gave
The first two
right.
sound kind of similar to me.
Yeah, I mean you're right. They're similar, but yeah, like she's the star of her show.
Mm-hmm.
I think you know the last one too. I think everyone knows the last one. Maybe I'm wrong, but touch grass, dude. Just touch grass.
idea.
Oh, you don't know?
No,
Okay.
never heard that before.
A, smoke weed. B, go outside and chill. C, get back to work. Or D, work out.
I guess go outside and chill.
Yeah. Like if someone's, just kind of reeling or,
Yeah.
upset, you just want to unplug and
That
go
makes
touch
sense.
grass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I want to thank you for making me feel older than I've ever felt in my life. So
Well, there's a couple other ones that are funny. Like you've heard people, like sometimes Emma and I will say we're going to have girl dinner.
mm-hmm.
Do you know what that means?
I just assumed that meant you were going to have dinner with our daughter.
Well, usually it means like girls are, I think boys do it too, but like we'll just have like a smoothie and like, I don't know, just like an easy dinner. I think a lot of times people have like cottage cheese, or it's just like a really simple, quick dinner.
Gotcha.
Well, the quiz is over. I think you did great. I think
Not
adjusted
really.
for your age, I think you got like a B+.
Okay, I'll take it.
Do you know what it means if someone says I ate or they ate
Not really.
or left no
kind
crumbs?
of.
That's similar.
No, I don't think I know
Just
that.
means you killed it. You did a really good job.
Okay, I think I've
So-
heard that in sports before, so I should
Oh,
know
really?
that one.
I didn't know that was a
Yeah, I
sports
think like
thing.
if a player did really well, like I think they might say I ate, but
Okay, one more that I've actually added to my vocabulary. I think the ones that I actually know are probably older. I'm sure like this is all of these are probably like gone and have expired and they're
Yeah.
not cool anymore. But mid,
Mid.
MID.
yeah.
I think that's a really good term for a lot of things.
Yeah,
Like,
it kind of
it's
captures like something that's just sort of like
kind of average,
it's
not
okay.
great, but it's like
Yeah.
a movie that you kind of liked.
Yeah, I like that one.
You're such a good sport. I appreciate you letting me try to embarrass you all the time, but you always are up for anything. so.
Always happy to be embarrassed.
All right, before we go for real, I just want to say thank you to everyone who leaves us nice, encouraging messages. And we just got a super sweet email from our listener, Carla, today that made us both smile.
Yeah.
We read them, we appreciate them, and we're just always very overwhelmed and just grateful for all of you and your support. Please rate, review, follow, and subscribe. Find us on social media or send us an email at lovemarykill@gmail.com. And please consider supporting us on patreon.com/lovemarykill. One tier, $5 a month for early ad-free access and a monthly bonus episode.
Or if you want to send us a snack.
Or cash money.
Oh, just send us a snack if you want to.
Yeah, I'm just kidding. We don't need your money.
Send it to LMK Pod, P.O. Box 111, Dexter, Michigan 48130.
Until next time.
Don't kill your wife.
And don't kill your husband.